Hey guys, what's up? Green Machine Sam back with another video, and today we have another 2K24 roster update guide. Now, of course, free agency kind of has slowed. Granted, a lot of teams still need to fill out the rest of their rosters, and I would assume so with that they're going to be bringing in a lot of veteran talent. I think they're still waiting for a couple pieces to fall here and there. You know, a couple still of the bigger free agents. I wouldn't call them big free agents. DeRozan's still probably one of the only big free agents remaining, of course. But with that being said, like I said, the NBA free agency period has kind of grinded to a halt. We do have some other news for the roster as well that I'm going to go over and all of that fun stuff. First and foremost, this is a PS5 exclusive roster. I'm not 100% sure if you can get this on Xbox. I'm just confused because it does have extra symbols. So I don't want to say that it's available on Xbox. It possibly could be. If it is available on Xbox, go ahead and download it. But if not, I let you know now ahead of time. Unfortunately, I will not be doing a PS4 roster. I know there's been a lot of comments recently on some of my later videos asking, are you planning on doing a PS4 version? Are you planning on doing a PS4 roster or anything like that? Do you plan on doing a scenario? I don't plan on doing a scenario right now. It just doesn't make sense for me to do a scenario. You're going to be playing the same season either way. It's not like the matchups change like the NFL, right? You still play your team, the teams in your conference, your division 4 times. You still play the teams in your conference 3 times, and you play the opposite conference twice. I think that's how it was. I could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. But let's head into things. First and foremost, you will want to hit the features tab, so you'll probably start up above my career. You'll want to scroll down to features, head to create roster, NBA modern current, user created. And you guys are going to want to push triangle and search by online ID. And then you're going to want to type in Green Machine Sam. So, just like this, it'll be in big text below this so that if anybody is watching on a smaller device like a phone, you can see my name relatively easy. Green Machine Sam, no special characters, no capitalization needed, no spacing, and no numbers. So, boom, you click it, and it should have 4 rosters that pop up. Now, of course, you do not want the NBA 2K24 no injury. That one is not updated. You want the top 3. Any one of the 3 does not matter which one you grab. They are all the same. It's just that if there is a problem downloading the roster, you guys can try one of the other ones, and you should be able to get pushed through relatively fast. One thing I do want to talk about before we get into things, of course, is the rookies. The rookies are all based upon when they are drafted, so the overalls of the rookies are based upon when they are drafted and not how I feel of a player. It just makes it a more fair and balanced thing. I know the undrafted guys and a guy like Bronny James, who went at pick 55, are going to be low overalls, and they're going to be difficult to play with. But that's the point, right? Not a whole ton of second-round rookies pan out, at least in terms of all-stars and those type of players. By the time they're done progressing, they might be in the high 70s, and that's kind of okay. That's kind of where they're expected to be. And then, of course, the undrafted guys not quite being all the way up there. So, of course, we'll go over a couple things real fast here. Of course, I have progressed everybody's age as well as their contracts. So anybody that is remaining on the team or had a contract formerly with the team should be progressed in the correct direction. If anybody isn't, let me know down below, and I'll try to fix it as best as possible. Now, of course, if you're watching this after somebody gets a contract extension or somebody picks out a new jersey number or or after their birthday even, go check out the roster before commenting, being like, hey, this is actually incorrect. Can you fix this? If it is wrong, I will go ahead and fix it. I've tried to do my best to go through and get as much done on this roster as humanly possible. Now, of course, there are a couple teams that I have had to change positions with for certain players, just because it does add a little bit more to the team. Some teams might be only carrying technically 1 power forward based off of, 2K's positionings. So I have moved some players around, as well as I've tried to move players around to not only create the best lineups, but to create the best progression as well, and getting some of your younger guys going, especially if you hop into of course, my eras, then those guys will hopefully be progressing as well. We got 2A contracts done. Now, some players, I will say, DJ Burns is supposed to be on 2A. He's an undrafted guy. I will say this real quick. Some 2A guys, some guys that will probably end up on 2As once the season gets started, are on regular second round contracts for now, just for the simple fact that I want the teams to be filled out. Because if you don't have 14 active players, not non-two-way contract guys on your team, when you go start on my eras, it's going to auto-sign some players. So there are some teams out there that technically do have 14 players, but only 13 of them have a real contract. So once you hop into a my era, if you find somebody that is on your team that shouldn't be, it's more than likely that reason. They have to auto-sign somebody. I know one team, I think, is the Pelicans. I think they're sitting at 13 players, even with their two-way guy, so they'll have to sign a couple. I know the Pistons, I think, are another one. Yeah, they're sitting at 13 with both of their two-way guys as well. And then there's teams like the Toronto Raptors, who technically have, I think, 19 players currently sitting on the active roster, and you can only put 18 on. You can do 15 regular contracts and 3 two-ways, so they are missing Muhammad Guy, I think it is, but I could have swore I saw him get cut or released or waived. Maybe he's back with the team, but it does say online that he does currently have a contract with them, so there is that. Hopefully everybody, like I said, is in the correct positions. Hopefully they have all the correct overalls, age, contracts, all that fun stuff. Like I said, if somebody picks out a new jersey number, go ahead and let me know down below. I'll try to fix it as best as possible. Buddy Hield really hasn't, I don't think, has picked out a jersey number. Neither has Kyle Anderson, but he wore one last year, so I just gave it to him. Now we're going to go over a couple of special additions to this roster. And first and foremost, you will want to head over to the 76-77 Philadelphia 76ers. This is the select team. Now, I only did enough to be able to play with, so it is 14 players. I figure that's enough. I think there's 16 total guys currently on that team, but 2 of them I would have to create/go and see if somebody has previously created them. So I just went ahead and got the 14 that are pretty available and accessible. They are all here on the 76-77 76ers. Then the next one you'll want to go to is, of course, the 01-02 jersey net. All the overalls are just their normal overalls. Now, they only have 12 guys on the active team, and they're only allowed to take, I think, 12. So we are just going to do the first 12. Now, of course, I think in earlier years, I know in 2012, because we'll get to it in just a second, I know in 2012 they actually had workouts, and there was a group of 20, and they trimmed it down to 12. Unfortunately, I think in today's NBA and in today's Team USA selections, I'm like 90% sure most of these dudes just kind of opt in. Some of the best stars in the league are just able to opt in, and the rest of the roster is filled out by asking certain players, of course. So here is the 12 guys, so you will be able to play with them if you really, really want to. So you go ahead and check that out for the 01-02 jersey nets. All of the numbers should be correct, and then, of course, it is just active overalls, so there is that. No other real teams to really go over as right now for the yearly teams, but if you go to the all-time teams, you'll see the first one that I am doing. This is the 2012 Olympic team. A lot of people played with them back in 2K13. I don't remember if they were in any other 2K games, but this was a team that I played with a lot just because it was fun, right? To be able to take all these guys into a game and be able to play with them. This team does have 18 players. Technically, they're only supposed to have 12, but I decided to give some of the spots to workout guys, as well as the guys that you would see in one of the most famous clips from this time, which was the Kyrie Irving crossover and spin move. So Blake Griffin, he was actually going to be a part of the team before Anthony Davis was supposed to be, but then he got hurt with a torn meniscus or something of that nature, so he had to drop out. Kyrie Irving's here because, we've seen the clip. Eric Gordon was one of the last cuts. He was actually the last person cut, him and Anthony Davis, and then when Griffin went down, they decided to bring Davis because he was a big man instead of Eric Gordon. And then, of course, Tyson Chandler's here. He was a part of the team. Taj Gibson, you will see in a lot of the clips from the 2012 team, especially if you're watching the Kyrie Irving highlights, you'll see him grab a couple of rebounds and throw the ball around. Kawhi Leonard, another guy that you saw a couple times in the corner, waiting for Kyrie to pass out, and Gordon Hayward, another guy that I saw plenty in the clips. And then, of course, Eric Gordon, like I said, was the last cut. And then you have the original 12, LeBron, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Darren Williams, Kevin Love, Andre Iguodala, and then, of course, James Harden, Anthony Davis, and Tyson Chandler. Now, all these ages should be correct, so that should be a good representation of their ages, but the overalls should be from 2K13, because 2K13 did come out after, of course, the 2012 Olympics, so there is that. So all the overalls should be correct. This was based off the 2K13 roster, which I found online. I was able to copy over a lot of the overalls. Now, yes, of course, some of the players aren't going to look correct fully because 2K doesn't give you different player models for the same player. They just kind of be like, oh, here's a different, portrait of the player, but we're not going to give you a different player. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to live with it. If any of the players do look decently older than, of course, their 2012 counterparts. Now, if you scroll over to the rotation, I do have the 12 players that were actually on the roster getting minutes. Anybody else will not be getting minutes. Now, of course, you can change this. You can play with Kyrie. You can play with Leonard. You can play with Gibson, Gordon, Hayward, or even Griffin. A big one is definitely Hayward and Griffin. Griffin didn't have his beard, and Hayward had the long hair, So, like I said, it's a pretty good thing. I'm going to be working on a couple others. I do plan on adding at minimum of 2 others, which is going to be the Redeem Team and the Dream Team. So the Dream Team is probably just going to go on the Chicago Bulls all the time, or what I may do, because of blue, white, and red being the American colors, we'll either do the all-time Clippers, the all-time Pistons, or the all-time Wizards, since those teams are also red, white, and blue, and we can copy over those teams. I would assume not a whole ton of people play with the all-time teams, and if you really want to play with the all-time teams, you can just simply load up the 2K roster, and they'll still be there. But if you download mine, they won't be there. Like I said, I do plan on doing something with the G League once free agency kind of wraps up and stuff like that. We'll go ahead and take a look at that once free agency does wrap up. Like I said, some decent names still remaining in free agency. You have DeMar DeRozan. You have Tyus Jones, a point guard that I personally like. Sadiq Bey, a guy that went off for a decent scoring bit. I think he scored like 50 or close to it. Gary Trent, John Wall, Kyle Lowry, Precious Achua, Pat Bev, Fontecchio, Okoronkwo, Luke Kennard. You still have some decent names in here. Nothing too spectacular. Probably going to be a lot of guys that are, rotation pieces. Probably guys that may not even make the playoff rotation once the playoffs come around, of course. But still some very decent names. So we're going to wait until free agency is kind of wrapped up, and most of the teams do have their roster set going into the next season. But like I said, if you guys want me to add any other special teams, we did actually have one more to go over. I forgot about this team. I literally forgot about this team. So, I personally liked playing with the early 2010s Lakers. Now, of course, if you go look, there is no early 2010s Lakers, right? There's no early 2010s Lakers. There's no championship Lakers, which is very weird, considering the fact that I think you do have a decent amount of the players already in game. I know you have Odom. I know you have Bryant. I'm pretty sure you have Pau Gasol. I'm pretty sure you have Derek Fisher, because I'm pretty sure he is on the 11-12 Thunder. Yeah, you still have Derek Fisher. You still have, in my opinion, a decent amount of the players from the 09 and 10 Lakers teams, but that's not one that I actually like using. I don't like using the championship one. I like using the one that actually lost the Mavericks in 2011. I like using the 2011 Lakers. This is the Lakers. Now, I will say I did boost overalls. I went and looked at the overalls from that year's 2K, which would be, of course, I think 2K12. And if you don't remember, from 2K10 to about 2K13, overalls were such a complete and utter ridiculous mess. You'd have your superstars still in the 90s. You'd have your star players still in the 80s. You'd have your role play, a good chunk of your starters in the 70s. But then the drop-off was insane. I think the roster I was looking at had Vucevic at a 66, had Luke Walton at a 70, had Shannon Brown at like a 74, Matt Barnes at like a 72, Derek Fisher at like a 68, Metta World Peace at like a 73. Somebody shooting off a fucking firework. And overalls were just completely fucked. Once you got to that 10th man on your team, it was dropping from hopefully a 70 down to a 63. I'm talking your 10th man on your bench was normally in the 60s, and your 15th guy or even 13th or 14th guy was maybe touching the 50s, or at least super low 60s. So I did go ahead and increase overalls to make the team a little bit more playable especially since you're going to be if you take this team and go play it, you're going to be playing, of course, teams with higher overalls in this 2K, because as you can see, most 2K rosters, most rosters of the modern NBA, your two-way guys are high 60s. Your 15th guy might be like a low 70, like a 72. So I did boost overalls for this team just to kind of get them up and in a place where they are a little bit more playable. I didn't fix contracts because I didn't figure that was too big of a deal, but age and overall should be relatively good. Position should be relatively good as well. So there is that. There's the 2011 Lakers. I do plan on doing a couple other teams. Like I said, I plan on doing the Dream Team. I plan on doing the Redeem Team. And then if there's anybody else that you guys would want to see that isn't going to be a difficult team to grab and get, I will more than likely do it. But with that being said, guys, if you guys do enjoy this roster or any other rosters I do have on my channel or any other content I do have on my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys do stick around and subscribe. I'll be back with more videos like this. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.